Hi, this is Greg Rempe, host of the Barbecue Central radio show. And you are listening to BCRN, all barbecue and grilling all the time.
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Welcome to the Barbecue Central Show, the show where we talk about all things that are important in the world of barbecue. From big-name interviews with competitors on the barbecue circuit, grill manufacturers and pit makers, to advice on cooking brisket and ribs. You'll find it all right here on the Barbecue Central Show. Your host, Greg Rempe, is a backyard barbecue and grilling fanatic and loves to talk about his passion, which many of us share together. You can learn more about barbecue and grilling by visiting the website, thebbqcentral.com. Now, let's get in the smoke. Here's your program host, Greg Rempe.
Hey, gang. Welcome to another edition of the Barbecue Central Show. Yes, the show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe, recording live, broadcasting live, and direct from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio. Rapidly becoming known as the barbecue capital of the North Coast. And if you are any type of follower of the show doing social media, you realize we're in for a special event tonight for the first hour. It is a barbecue roundtable show. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring on the panelists joining me. Specifically for the Chicken Roundtable tonight is Jeremy Schleishman from 18th and Swine, Chad Ward from Whiskey Bent Barbecue, Shane Draper from Draper's BBQ. A couple of you guys have already been on the show before. Jeremy is a first-timer in, so before we get any prep stuff and cooking stuff and post-cook stuff, how about a little more about the panel? Jeremy, we'll start with you, a little background about yourself and how you got into the barbecue.
Sure. I began smoking with my buddy Charlie. We were just watching some football games. Decided we'd give smoking a try. We had a couple of El Cheapo Brickmans that we were using. Turned out pretty good. When we thought it was pretty good. Then we thought we'd try competing. That was probably not a good idea. We got our butts kicked in for a couple of years, and it's been since 2007. We've been lucky enough to pick up some awards now, and still having fun.
So it wasn't like you were bit by the barbecue bug right off the bat because you won an event or you won like three different categories?
No. We were hard-headed. We decided to tough it out, I guess. We didn't take any classes. We decided that we were going to learn the hard way.
There you go. That's Jeremy Schleishman joining us here. 18th and Swine. We moved to Chad Ward from Whiskey Bent Barbecue, holding it down in the South. Chad, a little bit about yourself for those that aren't familiar with you and your appearances here on the show.
Yes. Thanks, Greg, for having me on. Just Whiskey Bent Barbecue. We've been cooking now for about 2 years on the pro side. Had some pretty decent success, and we'll just be talking about backyard yardbird tonight. Look forward to it. Thanks again for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for making time, Chad. You can find him, by the way, whiskeybentbbq.com. And then rounding out the panel, aside from my various musings, if I decide to weigh in, and I most likely won't, is Shane Draper. Shane's been on the show as well. A little bit about yourself, Shane, and what you're into.
Hey, Greg. Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Don't ask that question. Just get right into it.
Yeah. I've been barbecuing for a few years. Kind of grew up in the barbecue business. Started this crazy Draper's Barbecue rub and sauce company a couple of years ago, and been pimping sauce and doing competitions ever since, man.
What did you? What are you cooking on, Shane?
We go back and forth between a Old Hickory CTO, Big Green Egg XL, and a Tucker Cooker Professional Series.
What about you, Chad? I meant to ask you that. What are you guys cooking on?
Green Mountain Grills.
And for those that aren't familiar,
the pellet. That's a pellet cooker, similar to a Traeger, just much more well built.
All right, and Jeremy, what were you cooking on nowadays?
Right now, I'm cooking on a 55-gallon drum smoker. I built it with my dad. It's basically an ugly drum smoker.
All right, so how are you finding temperature control with that?
I'm using ball valves on it. It holds temperature really, really well. I had an 18-pound bag of charcoal last almost 40 hours this year after a contest.
Just on one burn?
one burn.
Wow, 40
It was really hot that day. It must have been perfect temperature. But I think I started the contest cooking at 8 o'clock, and then it was still rolling around on Sunday when I picked it up from the parking lot.
All right, so here we go again. The panel being made up of Chad Ward from Whiskey Bend Barbecue, Shane Draper from Draper's BBQ, Rubs and Sauces, and Jeremy Schliessman. We're going to be talking backyard barbecue tonight, and more importantly, we're going to be talking about chicken. So we have about 5 minutes till I have to do my first read here. So we'll start with Shane. Just as far as some general thoughts about chicken, when you go to the store, are you looking for something that is specialized, like a brand name? Are you looking more for color, favorite cuts? What do you think, Shane?
We cook a little bit of everything, all the way from whole chickens to just wings. But we will tend to, like, if we're going to sell chicken, a lot of people want leg quarters. It's a good mix. I'd prefer to have them fresh, not frozen. Tyson's an okay brand, but yeah, I look at color as long as they don't look too, steroided up and, just too thick and bulky.
All right. What about you, Chad?
Me, myself, I'm just looking mostly at the skin. I don't want it to be too yellow or too much fat. But that's really it. That's the only thing I look for. And of course, just the sell by date. Chicken's the one thing I just don't want too close dated. Especially if it's somewhere like a Sam's or a Costco where it's a big box place. They're dealing in so much volume that they kind of lose track of the date sometimes. So I just try to make sure there's not too much fat, it's not too yellowish of a skin, and just check your dates.
All right, and what do you like to cook when you're in the backyard? Do you have a preference?
Actually, I like to cook breast and wings and sometimes whole chicken. I like to cook anything but thighs. I'll even take a gizzard over a thigh. But and then in the backyard cooking for friends, the last thing I want to tinker with is the butter-basted thigh.
What about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm pretty much like these guys. When I go pick up my chicken, I try to stick to more of an organic type of chicken, like a smart chicken. I do look at the skin. Like they were saying, a yellow skin is more of an age thing for the chicken. You want skin that's more white in color. You want the skin to be kind of thinner. The fat should be kind of creamy white rather than yellow. That's basically what I look for. Something around 2 pounds, for a whole fryer for a whole chicken.
All right. So you said whole fry. Now, when I'm going to buy chicken, I will buy. We have a store. I can't believe I'm going to say this. It's a store called BJ's up here, and it's like a Costco or I think they probably have BJ's down there too, right, Chad? Chad?
Sorry, yeah, they do, Greg. Yeah, we've got a couple down here.
Don't leave me hanging, buddy. So,
sorry,
for me, and I know it's tough. It's got to be tough for you guys since, most of you guys to compete to not have your competition vibe kind of weigh in on your head as you're talking about it here tonight. But I definitely don't compete. So when I'm looking at it, I'm looking at price first and the amount of chicken second. And it seems to be, at least in the big box store, and I know, Chad, you alluded to the date as far as when it's going to go bad or how many days you have to work with it when you buy it, that the consistency, and I'll buy thighs if I'm going to be doing a lot of chicken if we're entertaining for a bunch of people. I like to do thighs because they're cheap. I can get a lot of them for maybe $14 maybe for 24, but there seems to be a huge inconsistency in size. You get a small handful of little ones, you can get a large handful of really big ones, and then like that middle amount. Shane, are you experiencing the same thing when you buy in large quantity?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what I alluded to with the steroided chicken. I mean, one will look like it's from Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the next one looks like it's from Urkel. I mean, it's tough to get that consistency in a big bag of chicken.
Chad, you running the same type of stuff?
Yes, it does seem to be all over the board. And I didn't mean to sell the thighs down the river too early on, Greg, because that's actually what I started cooking on when we were all in college. Because you're dirt broke,
right.
And like you said, thighs are cheap. And I had this old charbroil grill that used to be a gas grill, but I ended up using it so much it burned all the gas out of it. So I just ripped all the gas components out, put down a little bit of aluminum foil over where the gas insert would come in, and just cook chicken thighs. And we thought we were living like kings.
Very nice. Very ingenuitive of you there, Chatters. Jeremy, do you find the consistency as well on thighs?
Yeah, when we go to a box like a Sam's or a Costco, when we do competitions, we do primarily smoke thighs. And you're right, they come in weird shapes and sizes. When you're picking out a package, they come in like a 24-pack, I think, at Sam's. Yep. You have to really pay attention to the size in each individual packet, because that's what they come in. They come in like little small cupcake size, those sizes. You really need to make sure they're all uniform in size before you buy them.
That's right. We're talking with Jeremy Schleishman, Chad Ward, and Shane Draper. These are the guys that make up the panel of the Chicken Roundtable. We're going to get into a lot more prep and obviously how to cook and how you actually serve it when it's all said and done here in the next upcoming segments. But first, gang, let me tell you a little bit about a premier retailer of high-end timepieces, and he happens to live right here in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio. Let me make sure I don't screw this up here. This is the one I've been talking about for the last few weeks. It's a Bulova Accutron watch. Oh, they're just honed in right now. See that finely crafted timepiece, ladies and gentlemen? Let me tell you, it's very accurate. It's very comfortable to wear. It does get a lot of oohs and ahs from the crowd, which I can appreciate. But here's something that you're going to be able to appreciate even more. It started back on Father's Day of this past year, where you could call in and get a 30% discount on the Accutron line of watches. It's still going, so you haven't missed out. The special has been so popular, it's been carrying over now for almost 2 months. So here's what you need to do. You need to go to the Barbecue Central Radio Network homepage. You need to find the Stephen DeFranco Jewelers banner, and then you need to click on it. Peruse the Accutron line of watches, which is made by Bulova, and then pick out the one that you want. Now listen, on the website, there's a number for you to call specifically, so go ahead and call in right there. You're going to talk to Steve, or you'll talk to one of the handful of other very, very adept sales professionals at Stephen DeFranco Jewelers. They're going to help you pick out the one you exactly want, and then they're going to give you 30% off. Now, take note. Once you get that price, if you want to take an extra $50 off, all you have to do is mention my name and the term barbecue brother. You'll get an extra $50 off that 30%. And it's on the Accutron line of watches. It doesn't get any better than that. Well, maybe it does, because it ships to you for free if you don't live here in Cleveland. It also gets polished for free. You get free batteries for life. If it's going to be a gift for a friend, a lover, they'll gift wrap it for free as well. It doesn't get any better than that. But soon enough, folks, much like summer is coming to an end, this deal is going to go bye-bye. You will not be able to save 30% on an Accutron line watch. You will not be able to get an additional $50 off just because you said my name. Let's be honest, folks. When was the last time you mentioned my name and you got $50 off of anything? I'll tell you when that was. It was never. Take advantage of it while you can take advantage of me now. StephenDeFranco.com. Pick out your watch on the Accutron line that is made by Bulova. Then call into the special number, mention me and the term barbecue brother, and get an extra 50% off your order, which is already getting 30% taken right off the top. That you can afford it. We all know somebody now in the jewelry business, and his name is Stephen DeFranco. Thank God for Stephen DeFranco. Thank God. StephenDeFranco.com. Free shipping, free gift wrap, free batteries for life. If you live in the greater Cleveland area, they will actually come to your house and set the time for you, if you're that much of a lazy, lazy man. All right, we're going to step away real quick, and then back with the Chicken Roundtable with three great guests. Stand by.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Radio Network studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, gang, welcome back. It's the Chicken Roundtable. Jeremy Schleishman, Chad Ward, and Shane Draper. That's Draper's BBQ Whiskey Bent, BBQ, and 18th and Swine, respectively. 877-448-0433 if you want to call and weigh in on Yardbird. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Second hour, We're going to be joined by Dan the Man Watson from Long Dogs and Joe Beelan from Tippecanoe Barbecue talking about Jack Daniels, which is coming up next month. They qualified. They're in. We'll talk to them about it. But let's go back to the chicken talk. And we will start with Shane Draper on this question. Shane, we're going to go ahead and actually get more into prep. Now, once you have gone ahead and picked out whatever it is, why don't we go ahead and pick a particular cut? You said quarters, I believe, if you were going to be cooking a lot of them, because it kind of gives you the option of both the leg and the thigh. How do you go about prepping these particular cuts, Shane?
Well, the first thing you got to do is make sure they're just not overly fatty. So we trim them up. You want some fat, of course, but not a lot. I also like to take a skewer and poke the skin if there's any fat pockets like below the skin. It's not oftentimes that I'll peel the skin off like competition and shave out all the fat like if I were doing thighs. But for backyard, I just typically poke the skin just to let that fat render out of a quarter like that.
And do you do anything more extensive than that? Are you peeling skin back and scraping off fat or anything like that?
No, not for backyard. We get overly cute with chicken in competition. It's good just to throw the yard bird on the grill occasionally and just have at it,
Absolutely. All right, Chad, we'll go to you. When you're picking, after you've picked whatever cut it is, you go ahead and name it. How are you going about prepping it?
So since Shane took quarters, we'll take just wings. So on the wings, I usually buy the full wings. So you've got the drummy and the flapper. So that gives you a little bit of work on just trimming that out. So I like to separate the two when I cook them. So I'll get in there in the joint with a nice sharp knife and cut through there. And then once I get those done, sometimes there'll be some loose skin from when you make that cut. So I'll trim that skin up and then throw it right into some Cosmos chicken soak.
All right, Jeremy, how about you?
I'm going to take the whole chicken.
All right.
Take it out of the package, wash the chicken. I trim off any large pieces of fat. Usually some fat around the cavity. And then I cut any excess skin off so it fits neatly over the bird. Remove any twine or plastic binding on the legs. I'm trying to get more heat to more surface area.
Now, you said you were what kind of a weight were you looking for in your whole chickens?
Around 2 pounds.
2 pounds, okay. And are you leaving it whole, or are you spatchcocking it?
No spatchcocking. No, I just leave it whole. I try to, like this guy said, when I'm at a competition, I get really in detail about my chicken, and I just keep it simple at home.
All right, Shane, we'll go back to you now that you've kind of trimmed around and done whatever you're going to do to the meat itself. Do you do any type of brining process? Are you injecting for your home guests? What do you like to do to add flavor and panache?
I love brining chicken. I love brining any poultry. I think it just imparts such a better texture and flavor and moisture to it. And I find that it just holds or gathers more smoke after you've brined it. So that's really it. I mean, for backyard, we keep it pretty simple.
Are you using a specific brine, or are you just making a standard saltwater brine?
I love Butchers. I can't fault anything of theirs at all. But a lot of times, if I'm just doing it kind of on the side, I'll just make up a brine. I'll take Alton Brown's recipe for a turkey brine, modify it, and just make a giant vat of that and throw 20 pounds of chicken in it.
Evidently, that brine is like the most searched thing on the Food Network TV website, believe it or not. A little fun fact for you. Chad, we go back to you for drummies. I mean, it doesn't have to be specific to that, but I mean, just for chicken in general for you in the backyard, are you wasting time brining, or are you like me and you don't really give a crap about anybody that you're really serving and you're not going to do that?
No, I actually do brine. And like I said earlier, it's any of the parts or even the whole chicken. I'll use Cosmos chicken soak, and I just use it the way it reads on the label. And on the whole chickens, I'll go up to 6 hours. On the parts, I'll go to 4 hours. So that's pretty much what I like to go with for the brine.
Are you adding anything else to it, or have you ever added any other, let's term them flavor enhancers in order to impart a more robust flavor profile?
No, not in the backyard. I really haven't. I mean, on the competition side, I've done some injecting with some of the Moisture Magic stuff that Cosmos has. So I've brined and then messed around a little bit with the injection to kind of get another layer. But in the backyard, I've actually just kind of kept it down to just brining.
All right, Jeremy, are you using any special brine if you're brining at all?
I used to brine when I had time. I now have an 8-month-old son. I don't have that kind of time anymore.
Yeah.
So what I do is I just inject. Inject around 9 o'clock the night before. If I'm going to, let's say, having people over Saturday or Sunday, I'll do it the night before. I can give you my recipe if you want it.
Yes, I want it. Spill it.
Okay. It's 4 cups of hot water, 1 tablespoon of Better Than Bouillon chicken flavor, 1 tablespoon Better Than Bouillon vegetable flavor, 1 tablespoon of a rub that I will give you in a minute, and 1 tablespoon of Cosmos 2 beef injection. It's what I had laying around. I used it. Never looked back.
Wow. I mean, how long did it take you to come to a recipe that you were actually putting down on paper and wanting to replicate time after time in the backyard?
Well, when I started out, I didn't write anything down. I could never replicate anything. So taking notes is always a good thing for a backyard barbecuer to do. It took me a couple of times of not being able to recreate something that I really wanted to before it really sunk in. So I write down everything now.
So how long did it take you to actually get to this particular recipe that you liked so much?
Let's say for this one, I think over time, it's taken me 4 years to get to that recipe.
Wow. All right. So a little bit of time invested in that recipe. You're just giving it out like that. I really appreciate that. I'm sure Chad and Shane appreciate that too, right, boys?
Absolutely.
Of course. These guys are they're givers and takers.
That's right.
We are.
If you ain't shaking, you ain't winning.
That's right. Chad Ward, Shane Draper, and Jeremy Schleichman joining us here on the Chicken Roundtable. All right, so we've talked about brining. We've talked about how you're trimming up your particular cuts of meat. We'll go to Chad to start with this one. Obviously, rub big in the competition scene, but big in the backyard as well. It's a big industry in general. Chad, are you rubbing the chicken? How far in advance? Are you doing multiple times? What's the deal?
I'm just rubbing once, so I'll come out of the brine, running under some, nice cool water to get, all the brine off, and then I'll let it sit and air dry for 10, 15 minutes, and then I'll go through with a generous application of 3 Eyes barbecue rub. And the reason I like 3 Eyes on chicken is chicken's pretty delicate. You can get too hot real quick. And 3 Eyes is just that nice general all-purpose rub that still gets a lot of good flavor on the meat, but you're not going to offend anybody. And on chicken, it just provides you with an excellent color. So that's kind of how we approach it.
All right, how about you, Shane?
Usually we'll cook our chicken over we nearly grill our chicken if we're doing thighs in this instance. So I will wait until the chicken starts sweating a little bit before I put my first application of real heavy rub on. I mean, I may dust it light with something that has no sugar in it. But our real application of rubs comes after it starts sweating a little bit. What do
you mean by sweating? Go ahead. Are you making it run on a treadmill? Or are you making it jump rope?
Yeah, it does cartwheels for about a half hour, little calisthenics. No, once the chicken gets, or dripping, as some people would term it, once it gets good and hot and that fat starts rendering, you'll see it bead sweat a little bit, and the rub just adheres and sucks right in.
So you're not even technically rubbing the chicken until it's on the cooker per se.
Right, because we're cooking it pretty hot.
Gotcha.
At like 350.
That's absolutely an idea I've never even heard of before, but sounds like a great idea to me. Jeremy, how soon in advance are you rubbing? And I'm sorry, Shane, I would imagine you're using your own rub on that?
Oh, I'm a rub and sauce whore to coin a term. I mean, I love trying all different things. I will cut my rub with other people's stuff and try it. Just before the show started, I asked what everyone's favorite chicken rub is, because I'm doing a competition where the whole chicken is the turn-in. And I just want to do something different than my own, because everyone expects me to use my own rub. So I just like throw a curveball in there once in a while.
All right, Jeremy, how far in advance are you rubbing, and is it multiple times? Are you doing it on the grill before you do anything like Shane was doing? How do you go about doing the rub process?
I never heard anything like that from Shane. That's something I'll have to try. Usually what I do is I'll fire up the smoker about 30 minutes before I'm ready to throw it on with the rub.
All right. Now, you promised you were going to give up a rub just like you gave up that brine recipe. So if you're so inclined, please share with us.
Sure. This rub, it's taken me about 5 years to get onto.
Oh, my Lord.
It's a very balanced rub. It hits all the senses of taste, the sweet, salt, sour, bitter, and even the umami.
Oh.
It is half a cup of white sugar, a half a cup of iodized table salt, 8 teaspoons of black pepper, 8 teaspoons of chili powder, 8 teaspoons of paprika, 2 tablespoons of garlic powder, 1 tablespoon of turmeric, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of coriander, half a teaspoon of the no-salt spike veggie, and half a teaspoon of cayenne. I would agree with, I can't remember who said it before, but heat does really transfer quickly to the chicken. It's something you want to watch out for when you're serving just the general public.
Yeah, I was going to say, now we're talking about heat, not in terms of what you're actually cooking the temperature at, but you're talking about spice heat.
The spice, right. Right. It can overwhelm some people.
Oh, absolutely. Now, as far as if you're not using your own rub, are there commercial brands out there that you like to use from time to time?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Three Little Pigs. Chris Marks has a great championship rub. Mean Dean Smoking Machine has a great rub.
Shane, if you're not using your own, what are some of the other ones that you have found? As you said, you're a self-professed rub and sauce whore, which we certainly appreciate and adore. Which ones have you tried? Which ones have really stood out to you being, not only good for competition, but just good overall? Some of you want to reach into that spice cabinet and pull down.
Well, there's whole lines, that I'm fans of. The Plowboy stuff's great. Burnt Finger line, I think, is great. Anything that Butcher's makes. That dude could put, dirt in a bag, and I'd probably buy it because it's all good stuff. Cosmo stuff is great.
Butcher.
Just a good mix.
Chad, I'm sure you've tried a lot of rubs. You've obviously come to determination on stuff in competition. But, just as far as other stuff that you've tried, again, that has stood out to you, you have a discerning palate. What do you like to reach for time and time again?
I don't mind a little bit of heat on the chicken. So with that being said, I'll usually get. Simmering Docks isn't bad. If you like a little bit of back end heat, I think they do a great job with their rub. And then another good rub is Cosmos's Dirty Bird. I use that a lot on some of the stuff I do around the house, especially like my whole birds. I don't know why, but I always use Cosmos Dirty Bird, and I like those two off-the-shelf rubs. I think they're great.
All right. Anything else that you guys are doing to prep chicken just in general? And we'll go back to Jeremy.
As far as prepping it before I put it on the smoker, I do use a Pam butter spray for adhesive. It adds a little layer of flavor. It helps the flavors of the rub come out with the oil. You can control it better. I know that people use olive oil or some kind of other adhesive, and it's sometimes hard to keep from clumping with your rubs. So the Pam butter spray, easy to use, very simple.
All right, so let's go ahead and make a specific point on that. You're not just talking about the regular Pam spray, but it's the Pam butter spray?
Right.
All
yeah,
right. So
the butter flavor spray.
People are looking and taking notes. It's the Pam butter spray. Shane, anything else that you are doing? Because, to be honest, there's Pam spray, then there's like Pam garlic, Evie olive oil spray, and then butter spray.
Yeah.
So, we want to make sure we're giving all the information out there. Shane, anything else you're doing to your chicken prior to going onto the cooker?
No, not really. I mean, just like Chad mentioned, I mean, once it comes out of the brine, we just make sure it's good and dry before it hits the heat. But like I said, then we're the odd man out where we wait before we put the rub on it. I mean, with leg quarters, it's pretty straightforward. We would do a little more work to like a whole chicken, but leg quarters, I mean, it's just a good eaten piece of meat, and you don't have to do a lot to it to make it great.
All right, Chad, go ahead and round out the prepping techniques here. Anything else that you might be doing to the chicken prior to it getting onto the fired up grill?
No, after I rub, I like to let all 4 categories of meat, like Shane talked about earlier, sweat a little bit. So I'll actually rub my chicken and leave it sitting out, on the counter with a little bit of foil, just not tight on it so it takes the rub off, but just covering it up. I'll let it sit out for a good 30, 45 minutes and kind of let it come up to room temperature, and then I'll go on the cooker with it. And just because it's chicken, I'll say a little prayer over it.
I was just going to say, did you just say you let your chicken sit out for 35 to 40 minutes? I'm scared. I'm scared one day we're going to be talking about the late Chad Ward.
No, but because especially on wings that we're talking about tonight, you're going to run wings up to 180, 190. So, I mean, you're going to kill everything around it. I mean, come on, Greg. You're a barbecue guy. You're not an FDA guy. Come on.
Hey, I'm just looking out for everybody's best interests here. I did leave ribs sit out today that I cooked since I was off. I let them sit out maybe about 20 minutes prior to going onto the cooker while it was firing up and getting up to temperature. But even then, I was a little... I don't know. Maybe I was brought up in the era of it's got to come out freezing cold so the best smoke ring happens and there's just no danger. But perhaps things are starting to relax, or maybe it's just me. Shane, are you somebody that likes to let chicken sit out for 35 minutes to 4 days like Chad does?
Yeah, 3 days max. But with chicken, I'm a 20-minute kind of guy, maybe. Our brine's not freezing cold when it comes out, but with other meats, with ribs and stuff, I mean, I'll let those come up to near room temperature before I throw them on them. I guess I'm one of those oddball guys.
Jeremy, are you scared?
You're
No, not. I mean, I don't want his wife coming after me, but I do leave the meat out for a little bit. Whenever I'm starting my smoker, I'll pull it off. And then I'll throw my rub on. It starts to get to a wet marinade. But that is a good rule to follow. I was at the Royal one year watching some people. They had their chicken out with, they'd had a few adult beverages. They'd let the chicken on the concrete a couple hours. So
wow.
It's something to keep in mind.
All right, there's a number of people in the instant chat here, so we're going to do an instant poll. Everybody get their fingers ready. Obviously, Chad, Shane, and Jeremy, you don't need to answer this, but for the people that are listening, anybody scared or anybody not into leaving their chicken out for, let's say, 35, 40 minutes or potentially longer, go ahead, weigh in right now, and we'll take an instant poll here. It's yes, no, I'm not scared. Yes, I'm scared. That's all you need to go ahead. All right, so already we're okay. Well, it looks like I'm the idiot over here. Okay, good. Wow, what a surprise! The host is an idiot. Okay, that's a big surprise. We're talking with Shane Draper.
Greg,
yes, go ahead, Chad.
Greg, as you always say, I saw the second reply there is trust your butcher.
That's right. Trust your butcher. Not only is he a hell of a guy, he's a hell of a sponsor. Chad Ward from Whiskey Bend Barbecue, Shane Draper from Draper's BBQ, and also Jeremy Schleishman from 18th and Swine. I believe all of those except, Draper's BBQ. Just add .com to any of those. Spell out "and" for 18th and Swine. You can get to their respective websites. All right, so we're going to get ready to throw the chicken on the cooker here and talk about what temperatures we like to cook at, smoke wood for flavor, and all that other good stuff. But first, let me go ahead and tell you a little bit about my good friends over at Warminster, Pennsylvania. Longest-running sponsor of the show. They make those little doohickeys called automatic pit temperature control devices. That's right, boys. Just lay back. Funky time here on the Barbecue Central Radio Show. Yeah. We're going to be talking about Barbecue Guru. That's right. It's automatic pit temperature control for you guys and gals that are working professionals that want to cook barbecue but got to go to work. So here's something that's going to help you do it right. It's going to watch the pit temperature for you, keep it right where you want it, baby. That's right. You got 4 different models to choose from. You got that Procom 4 wireless unit so you can control temperatures from up to 600 feet away. You got a CyberQ 2. You got a DigiQ 2 DX. DX stands for damn awesome. Then, of course, you got the Nano Q, keeping that pitch temperature right where you want it. So you can go to work all day, put on a big pork butt or a brisket, and feel confident while you're making sales calls, smiling and dialing, that barbecue is getting cooked at just the right temperature. And if you get the right model, you can get that ramp thermometer. So once it reaches that perfect internal temperature, it's just going to sit there and marinate. It's going to hold, stay out of the danger zone that everybody doesn't seem to care about anymore. But it's not going to get overcooked, and it's going to stay above the 140 to keep bacteria off it so you can enjoy succulent beef and pork when you get home. Also, it's not just about the automatic temperature control device, baby. No. It's the Onyx oven that's winning championships all over this fine land. It's lightweight, it's portable, burns up to 24 hours on a load of charcoal, and you know that it can adapt to the Barbecue Guru automatic pit temperature control devices just like butter. Holds full pans, half pans. Forget about it. It's well insulated, so this thing is running for days on end on one load of charcoal. They also carry, if I mention charcoal, wicked good charcoal, Blues Hog and Head Country sauces, slabs and Dizzy Pig rubs. And like I said, it's that Onyx oven that's killing them out there on the circuit. Lightweight, fuel efficient, and accurate. 2 ways to find them. TheBBQGuru.com, or you can call them toll-free on your phone. 800-288-GURU. That's 800-288-GURU. As for Barbecue Bob, he will outfit you specifically for that unit that you need and get you an Onyx oven at a great price. Pick up some charcoal and sauce while you're there, for crying out loud. It's a one-stop shop. TheBBQGuru.com, 800-288-GURU. We are back with more Chicken Roundtable. Cooking time, baby. Cooking time. We're going to get hot and smoky. Stick around.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
37 past the hour. It is the Barbecue Roundtable Backyard Chicken Edition. Chad Ward, Shane Draper, Jeremy Schleishman joining us here on the show. Boys, thanks for hanging with me through the porn read. We have prepped chicken all the way through. We talked about what kind of chicken that we like, and now it's time to cook it, for crying out loud. So, Jeremy, we'll talk to you. Where do you like to cook chicken at as far as temperature-wise in the pit? And what kind of, if you're going to use, I guess, smoke wood for flavor, what kind of a wood do you find goes very well with the Yardbird?
I cook around 300 degrees. When I cook in that drum, I use charcoal briquettes, the hardwood, and I use cherry wood chunks. I soak them. I've played around with other, fruit woods like a apple or, I can't remember the other fruit wood, but it's either cherry for me or pecan. That's what I'll use.
All right. Now, you said hardwood briquettes for fuel. Do you have a specific brand that you like or that you seek out?
Yes. I specifically go up to my local grocery store and get the best choice of hardwood briquettes. Is
that manufactured by somebody? Is that a brand off?
It is an off-brand. It's supposed to be, according to the Naked Wiz, it's supposed to be the Royal Oak offshoot.
All right. So, and it works out well for you, right?
Oh, it works fantastic.
All right, Shane, we'll go to you. Where do you like to cook your chicken at temperature-wise in the pit? And if you're using, I know you said you're kind of higher in the grilling, but if you're using smoke wood, what do you use to enhance your smoke flavor?
Yeah, I like to be around that 300 mark as well. Chicken and its fattiness can handle it. And I've been on a big, just as a plug for Fred in the chat room there, I've been on a big Mojo Bricks kick, man. Those cherry Mojo bricks are just fantastic. They impart a lot of flavor real quick and just do a great job.
So are you using them specifically as fuel, or are you just also just chunking them off and using them in your fire?
No, I'll typically use them in addition to like a Royal Oak lump. I'll throw the Mojos on top of on top of that in the Big Green Egg or on the Tucker.
A whole brick?
Nah, no way.
Oh, okay.
Those things smoke so much. I mean, if you're gonna do something like chicken, I mean, like a quarter of a brick.
Yeah, they definitely can kick up a little bit of smoke. But man, they burn forever, right?
Yeah, they're great, and you know what I love about them, you can meter your smoke. I found after playing with them, you can dial in exactly how much smoke you want, and they're the only product I've had that really does that, and there's no binder in them, so there's no off flavor. I mean, I'm really a big fan.
All right, that's Shane Draper. Chad Ward, we go to you. Pit temperature for chicken, and I mean, since you're using, I'm going to assume you're using Green Mountain Grill's backyard and obviously in competition, but what kind of a pellet flavor do you like for chicken?
Green Mountain Grills makes their own pellet, and it's a 65% hardwood, which is a 50-50 mix of oak and hickory, and then a 35% softwood, which is a apple, cherry, maple mix. So that's the pellet that we use. And on the wings, I cook it 250 for about 45 minutes, and then I pull them off, dunk them in a kind of a vat of sauce, and then go back on at 350 to get the sauce to really stick and dry out, and get them popping and get that skin crisp. All
right, so different cuts for our different panel members here. Shane, we go to you first. When you're doing the leg quarter, since that's kind of where we've been trending with you, what kind of will you cook direct? Will you cook indirect? And then I guess most importantly, what kind of an internal temperature are you shooting for to finish?
We will cook direct for the most part for chicken like that. If we wanted more smoked chicken, of course, we'd go indirect. That determines whether we can go with like the Tucker or more on the Big Green Egg if we're kind of in a hurry because we can get chicken done really quick on it. It's really depends on the cut we're working with, how big they are, and just do we want crispier grilled chicken or do we want just smoky chicken? It just depends on how we're feeling. But as far as internal temp, I like that 165, 170 range on a leg quarter. I don't like taking it way over the top.
Shane, do you find that most people like the crispier skin, or do you have a section of friends that are more barbecue chicken, or do you have a section of friends that are more crispy grill?
Yeah, I would say most of our friends just eating for, enjoyment. They're more on the grill side, I would say.
All right, Chad, I mean, what do you find? You're cooking for a lot of people down there in the great state of Florida. Do you find a lot of people are more adherent to the crispy chicken, or do they like the barbecue chicken?
No, I would say, people like the smoke and barbecue flavor, but they want that crispy skin. And I would say wings is the number one thing I get catering calls for, because we do a couple of charity fundraisers down here where we only cook chicken wings. Like last year we did it for Relay for Life, the breast cancer, the cancer awareness thing. Mm-hmm. And we did around 5,000 wings. And out of those 5,000 wings we served that weekend, I've probably got 20, 25 catering calls about them. And everybody loves that it's got a smoked flavor when you bite into it, but when you bite into it, the skin is crisp. So that's how I kind of came up with the whole, low enough to get some smoke on it, but then sauce it and jack up the heat and get the skin crisp. So I guess that's why. Yeah, but that's what wings. I mean, Shane can't do that with leg quarters. It's a different animal. But with wings, for you guys out there that cater and do some of those jobs, wings are the ticket. And people, I think they like that crisp skin because it makes them feel like they're getting that sports bar wing. But then when you give them that smoke and that flavor to it, they're like, wow, that really kicks anything's butt that's came out of a fryer.
And are you just cooking specifically on time for wings, Chad, or are you going to stab them?
No, I'm going to stab them. I mean, I like for all, because, I mean, with wings you can get so much variation in size. I like for the wing to be right. I like it to be somewhere around 180, 190. anywhere in between there I'm happy with, because it's I kind of want that meat. What I found is at that point in time with what I do before the cook, that meat still stays really moist, but it still kind of comes right off the bone. If you have people digging around on a chicken wing to get meat off the bone, it kind of kills you from the get-go.
Jeremy, I'm sorry, Shane, did you give me a temperature that you pull your quarters off at? I apologize.
Yeah, I'm up closer to 170-ish. They'll drift a little bit, but I don't like taking those leg quarters up into the 190s typically. I mean, it's just too much.
Will you take them off at 170 and then have them drift up, or will you take them off at, let's say, 160, 165 and let them carry over to 170?
It just depends on what's going on with that bag of chicken. I mean, the first thing I do is grab a leg bone and give it a twist. If it's getting loose at a lower temperature, then I'm not going to take it all the way, very, very high. If it's just not letting go, then I'll take it to a higher temperature, because, I mean, it is chicken after all. You don't want to make anybody sick, so you got to be safe with it. And I'll stab every piece in 3 or 4 places. I'm really superstitious about chicken.
All right, Jeremy, we'll go back to you to end up this portion. What temperature are you looking to finish at? And I mean, do you find that your crowd is preferring a barbecue style chicken, or do they like the crispy skin?
In the beginning, when we were just messing around in the backyard, we would do drummies, stuff like that. They preferred the crispier skin, but as we've been practicing and inviting people over to our house to eat, I think for at least our friends, that the tide turns to more of a barbecue bite through skin. When I'm cooking the chicken, I do stick it a couple of times like everybody else. I don't want anybody getting sick. You need the chicken to be at least 145 degrees for food safety. For the thighs in particular, I want to get them up to 170 degrees. And the juices need to run clear out of the meat when you pull out the probe. The thighs in particular, if you don't cook it to a high enough temperature, it'll scare a lot of people off. Sometimes when you cook chicken, there's going to be pink meat near the bones, which that happens with smoked meat. But if you don't get it high enough, you might be left with like a slick and partially bloody joint near the bone where the thigh connects to the cavity of the bird. Nobody wants that. So I try to get up to 170 degrees.
And did you say that your safety mark or your safety benchmark is 145 degrees?
Yeah, I believe that the benchmark for the FDA for everything was at least 145 degrees.
All right, we're talking with Shane Draper, Chad Ward, and Jeremy Schleishman. 18th and swine.com, whiskeybenbbq.com, and drapersbbq.com, the respective websites for our panel members here. All right, guys, anything else that you're doing? Are you mopping, basting, injecting steroids halfway through to these chickens before you actually take them off and we're done with the cooking process, and we'll go to Chad?
No, I'm not doing anything besides like I told you, that difference between the 250 and the 350. I'll take them off and throw them in the sauce and then get them back on, but that's really about it. After that, we just kind of pull them off and let them rest.
What about you, Shane? Anything else in the cooking process that you like to do to potentially add more layers of flavor?
I mean, you got to put them in the smoking sauce. Basically, once they hit the correct internal temp, I'll go ahead and sauce them. And as I'm, running around making final preps to pull them off, that sauce is set, and they're ready to rock and roll, man.
Jeremy, anything else you're doing?
Yeah, with the rub that I gave you, I do hit it with a spray. I used to use a mop, but I think that I wasn't that adept at using the actual mopping tool, so I switched to sprays. It's much simpler. It doesn't have enough sour in it, so I do hit it with 1 cup of apple juice and 2 tablespoons of Heinz garlic wine vinegar. I spray it, I think, at the 1.5 hour mark, and then again. And on a 3-hour cook, I spray it halfway through, and then I guess you call it the 4th quarter of the cook.
All right. So now we're wrapping up the cooking portion of the show, and we're going to be taking the chickens off of the cookers and kind of presenting them to the crowd. So we'll go to Shane as far as leg quarters are concerned. How are you serving them out for everybody, Shane?
Everyone gets a whole leg quarter. You get the thigh and the leg. If you got kids around, you can, of course, break them apart and, just give them the leg, and they can run around and gnaw on the bone there. But pretty straightforward leg quarter. Not much we can do. Like if we had a whole chicken where we might, debone the whole thing and let it out nice. Leg quarter is pretty much just a leg quarter.
Chad, how you serving them out for you?
Greg, I am throwing them out in a big-ass pan, and only the strong will survive.
That's probably not a lot of people if they're by you, Chad.
No, man. You'll see some small guys get in there and muscle their way in there after they tasted one. But no, I just throw them in the pan and let them have at it. So, that's kind of what wings are about, right? See who can eat the most and how good they are.
Absolutely. Jeremy, how you serving your chicken out to everybody?
After I let it rest, I debone it and just kind of shingle it all out. Just cutting just pulling the legs away from the cavity, cutting it at the leg and thigh, cutting out the wings, and then just slicing out the breast meat, throwing it on a platter.
Do you slice off the whole breast? Well, I guess, oh man, I can't believe I'm going to say that. Do you slice off the two sides of the breast, or are you actually cutting slices off and laying them on a plate?
I had not heard of someone taking off the breast before cutting it until earlier this year. I have always cut it straight from the cavity. That's the way I learned how to do it. That's a neat trick, taking it off of the cavity and then cutting it on the board, but I always just cut it straight from the cavity.
All right, so there you go. We're serving chicken after it's come off of the grill, and we're going to talk about sides and a little promotion in just a few seconds. But bear with me here for one last 1 hour read. Gang, it's Fred Bernardo. He is from Fred's Music and Tasty Licks Barbecue Supply Company. For the last 3 weeks, I've been telling you that the names are merging soon enough, and Fred is going to give me the okay to release it on his order. It will be Tasty Licks Barbecue Supply Company. There will be no Fred's Music. It will just be Tasty Licks Barbecue Supply because Fred is into branding. Who isn't into... Do you not hear the word branding being thrown about, ballyhooed around like crazy these days? Of course you have. And Fred is no stranger to branding, and that's why, for now, he's Fred's Music, but he's also Tasty Licks Barbecue Supply Company. They offer that sweet and tangy secret sauce. It's got that great little tang, and he's got some great results on the competition scene. The judges are digging that very sweet taste, but then, of course, there's that little back-end heat. You always hear that sweet and heat is winning on the competition scene, and Fred is capitalizing. By the way, maybe you didn't know this. The secret in the secret sauce is the fact that there is the same spice block in that sauce that's actually the Smokin' Guitar Player's original rub. So if you use the rub on your ribs or your chicken, then finish with the sauce, you have the same exact flavor or spice package for a consistent flavor profile. Look, if you're going to be consistently winning in the backyard, getting high fives from your friends and chums, or getting hearty hand clasps and rear end taps from the guys on the competition scene, because I heard they like to give rear end taps, then you got to keep it consistent. So why not use a sauce and a rub that have the same exact spice block? Makes sense to me. It should make sense to you. Not only that, Fred is a general marketplace for cookers, for accessories for your grill. He carries a number of show sponsors here as well. He's a dealer for Barbecue Guru. He's also got his own line of injections as well. But it's the only rub and sauce on the market that are made like this using the rub in the sauce, at least according to the sheet that Fred has given me. So you can find him, if you happen to be traveling through Shillington, Pennsylvania, stop in and see the Smokin' Guitar Player himself. He loves Big Green Eggs. They're all eggheads out there. You can also visit him online, fredsmusicandbbq.com. When the website changes, I will let you know. But for now, it's the same one. fredsmusicandbbq.com, a trusted online retailer. I buy my stuff from Fred. You should too, because he gets it to you on time. He's not going to take your money. We're finished with Chicken Roundtable and promos right after this.
Get in the smoke. Call 877-448-0433 to get on the air. Now, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. Chad Ward, Shane Draper, Jeremy Fleischman joining us here for the Chicken Roundtable. We've served it to everybody, and I'm always a big fan of what else are you eating aside from the chicken? It's not just enough to eat chicken; you got to have sides. Shane, what do you like with chicken on your for sides?
One of my favorite sides for any kind of barbecue meal is my wife's broccoli salad. The red wine vinegar and the sweetness in there just goes great with any kind of barbecue. And then, of course, I'm a big fan of smoked mac and cheese, actually over the on an actual smoker. Just fantastic.
Smoked mac and cheese. Any special thing going on there with that?
No, just your basic mac and cheese. I mean, if you want to go the Velveeta route, you can throw some bacon in there too. But I just smoke it for a little while, unlike the CTO or the Tucker. And man, that extra smoke flavor is just fantastic.
Sounds great. Chad, what do you like with sides?
More protein.
Wow, what a surprise. Like what? Steak?
I don't know. I mean, throwing some brisket, throwing some ribs. I mean, you know, if we're going to put baked beans in there, I mean, it's got to at least be 40% bacon.
Right, or pulled pork.
So, I like that. So we could probably scale down to like 35% pulled pork or 40% bacon. But no. In all seriousness, from anybody that's ever met me, I mean, I'm obviously a high protein guy. But we will obviously throw together some coleslaw and some baked beans to go along with it. Kind of, you know, you got the wings and then you got the baked beans and the coleslaw. Kind of works all right.
Are you a creamy coleslaw guy or are you vinegar coleslaw guy?
Creamy. It's kind of what we do down here in the South. But yeah, I mean, it's more of a creamy than a vinegary.
All right, Jeremy, what do you like for sides for chicken?
My wife would usually make a spring mix salad with some strawberries, some pecans, red wine vinaigrette. I usually make a beer bread that we serve with it. You want the recipe for that one?
If you got it.
All right. It's 3 cups of self-rising flour, 2 tablespoons of the Splenda sweetener, 2 tablespoons of honey, 1 12-ounce bottle of beer, preferably a Boulevard wheat from Kansas City, or any wheat beer like a Shiner Hefeweizen, and then 1/4 cup of butter. Cook it at 350. Pam spray cupcake pan. Mix all that stuff together. Well, except for the butter. Don't put in the butter yet. Spoon it all in the individual cups, and put the melted butter on each one, about 1.5 teaspoons per cup. Bake 30 minutes. Done.
Wow, sounds absolutely fantastic. Thanks for sharing, Jeremy.
Sure.
All right, so self-promotion here, or what we call the parting shot segment, where you kiss my ass a little bit and then tell whatever you want to tell about. Shane, we'll go with you first.
First big thing we got coming up is something called Barbecue on the River here in Paducah. We're going to serve about 40,000 of our closest friends and also have a barbecue competition in the middle of it. The weekend after that is the Royale. And we just have stuff lined up, weekend after weekend, all the way through about the end of October. Ended up with the Jack, hopefully. We have a promo going on our site right now. We've got some pretty deep discounts on all of our products on the Draper's Barbecue store. So go check it out. Now is the time to definitely buy some before the prices go back up, because that's helping fund our trip to the Royale and the Jack.
All right, Chad, how about you?
No. First off, I'd just like to thank you for having me on, Greg.
Thank you, Chad. That was very proper of you, Shane. You should take notes for next time. Go ahead.
And then also, I mean, do you mind if I share a conversation me and you had late last week?
No, go ahead.
I was approached by Daryl Mass to kind of do a weekly show on his Barbecue Superstars channel. And as much as I thought it was a good opportunity, I wanted to kind of call Greg, because personally to me, I kind of look at Greg as the guy that kind of started this whole barbecue radio thing. And it's just kind of a professional courtesy. I wanted to call and see what he thought about it. And we talked, and he said, dude, you're going to listen to your first show, and you're going to say it's horrible a year later. Well, I listened to my first show a week later, and I knew it wasn't the best thing in the world. But I do appreciate Greg being so supportive, and he's one of those guys that said, hey, any questions you got, go ahead with it. So I see a lot of the guys in the chat room that listened in earlier on my show and then listening on Greg's show, and I think it's a good synergy, and it's actually why I picked Tuesday nights. So if you guys get a chance, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, we're on Blog Talk Radio. It's called Whiskey Bent Barbecues in the Pit. Love to sit there and talk to you, and hopefully we can provide some good content. So thanks, Greg, once again for kind of the blessing and for helping me out.
All right, that's Chad Ward, Whiskey Bent Barbecue, and we'll round it out with Jeremy tonight.
Greg, I would also like to thank you for letting me come on your show.
Oh, Jeremy, you're so gracious.
Huge fan of your podcast.
You're making me blush. Shane is just an ungrateful idiot.
I would like to say thank you for being on. Except for your computer mishaps the last couple of weeks,
all ironed out.
You were consistently on for years, and I don't think anybody's ever said thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that, and be sure to find these guys at their respective websites. You can find Jeremy at 18th and Swine. It's 18th, THAND, 18th and Swine. Chad is at whiskeybentbbq.com, and Shane is at drapersbbq.com. Great rub and sauce over there, and since he said deep discount, you got to go hook up with that. Gentlemen, certainly appreciate all the time and the tips, tricks, and techniques. Continued success to all of you. Thanks for coming on tonight. There they are. It's the boys. I think I said sex there on accident. Success, I mean. Oh, hey-oh. All right, we are going to step away real quick. One more. Chicken Roundtable down. Excellent. Great info there, by the way. And Jeremy bringing the recipes. Appreciate that. Not a lot of people willing to break out like brine recipes and sauce recipes and beer bread recipes. That was absolutely fabulous. All right, we are going to reload for the second hour. We're going to be switching gears from roundtable talk, and we're going to go over to the Jack Daniels, one of the most sought-after competitions to win and compete in during the course of the calendar year. So we'll get two teams' opinions on what it's all about, what they're hoping to do, what it would mean to them, what it would mean to them if they win. Before that, we're going to get into something that could set the barbecue world back on its ear another 10 years. Worse than Q Cologne. You don't want to miss it. Stand by for a Deck Chef, and we'll be back right after this.
Twist on a great recipe? Are you looking for something else to do at the grill or to impress your friends when you're tailgating? Or you just want a fantastic recipe in the kitchen? Here's some good ideas that are quick and easy that's going to add a little bit of culinary flavor to everyday dishes. I'm Kent Whitaker, and join me after these messages. Hey everyone, cookbook author and award-winning barbecue guru and homestyle chef Kent Whitaker here. You know, one thing I've learned over the years is that homestyle cooking can't be beat. So if you need a great cookbook that's easy to follow and is similar to having a great conversation on the front porch with family and friends, then pick up one of my books at your favorite bookstore. Sheila Simmons and I are crossing the country in search of great recipes, from Texas to Georgia, from Tennessee to Alaska. So just ask for one of my cookbooks at your favorite bookstore, or visit me online at thedeckchef.com. I'm Kent Whitaker, the Deck Chef. I'll see you at the dinner table. You know, everybody loves s'mores. Now, you know s'mores, the traditional campfire recipe for dessert. You got your graham crackers, chocolate, marshmallows, and of course, I like to add something special like brown sugar. You know, that's fantastic, but also you can do this. Add a little bit of a twist with some grilled bananas. Now, grilled bananas, we've talked about that before on the show. Take some butter, some banana, brown sugar, put it in some foil, grill it up. Tasty, add some ice cream, that's cool. But you can also do that in slices with a little bit of brown sugar and add those grilled banana slices with the brown sugar and a little bit of butter to your s'mores. You don't want to make them too thick, but it just adds a little bit of sliver of flavor that you can't resist. So you got your graham crackers, chocolate, marshmallows, the grilled banana, and you put it all together just like you really would with a regular s'more. Cook them up, grill, oven, stove, however you want to do it, and eat them up. Now, if they don't like bananas, leave them off. They can have a regular s'more. That's fine. No pressure. But it is a fun way to add a little extra flavor to a traditional s'more treat. Until next time, I'm Kent the Deck Chef Whitaker. Check me out online for some great recipes. Until next time, I'll see you.
This is Brian Mayer, host of Hot Sauce Weekly. And you are listening to BCRN, all barbecue and grilling all the time.
From my heart and from my hand, why don't people understand my intention?
Happy to have you aboard here for the Really Big Barbecue Show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Fine, how's it going? You have a great show. I'm a big fan. So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono! It's all about the Charbono, dude!
Succulent fish! What?
He ate 54 wieners.
But listen, Lavernius, shake your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
You could use it to fight off creeping marauders looking to take your steaks off your grills.
I just like being anywhere with Junior, Senior, and Diva.
Sounds like a whole other type of movie.
Wow. Yeah, really. Keep it hot, keep it clean, keep it lubricated.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
Hey, just like that, we're in the second hour, everybody. Thanks for hanging with me. Huge crowd again tonight. Outrageous. About 43 people in. I think we were high watermarked almost around 50. We have another 35 people on the audio side only. Add those two together, 755 people are listening here tonight. My math is good. All right. Quick reset. We had Chicken Roundtable this past hour in the 9 o'clock hour. Thanks to Jeremy Schleishman, 18th. Oh. Damn it, Patrick. It's all too late now, isn't it? It's all too late. All right, never mind. I caught it. But thank you. I should have been looking. I appreciate you, Patrick, for looking out for you, buddy. All right, I wanted to thank Jeremy Schleishman from 18th and Swine, Chad Ward from Whiskey Bend Barbecue, and Shane Draper from Draper's BBQ. Add.com to any of those particular team names, and you get their particular website. So I'm very happy about that. All right, here we go. I wanted to tell you about this. You know, folks, I went on and on about the fact that Q Cologne that was put out by Pork Barrel Barbecue a few short months ago, while the idea seemed to be spectacular, was really one of the worst things that could have happened to the world of barbecue. Set barbecue back on its ear easily 20 to 50 years. And just when you think, friends, it couldn't potentially get any worse, that the very bottom of the barbecue proverbial barrel has been scraped, the excitement has gotten the better, unfortunately, of a team that I hold near and dear to my heart. Because they were picked to go to the Jack Daniels, they were feeling themselves one night, and I don't mean in a weird way, but they were just feeling it. They obviously had access to microphones, as I do, and thus came this, the official acceptance song from Hot Grill on Grill Action being debuted here on the Barbecue Central Radio Show. Friends, if you shoot your speakers, I don't blame you, but here we go.
Ribs, chicken, brisket, pork, dessert, Jack Daniel's sauce, Jack, hot grill on grill action at the Jack. What up, yo? Word 'em up. Lickety split, famous Amos, Logan Henderson, pork, dessert, Jack Daniel's sauce, Jack, hot grill on grill action at the Jack. What up, yo? Word 'em up. Lickety split, famous Amos, Logan Henderson, ribs, chicken, brisket. Ribs, chicken, brisket, pork, dessert, Jack Daniel's sauce, Jack, hot grill thing. Dessert. Jack Daniel's sauce. Jack. Hot grill on grill action.
Wow. Burn 'em up. Jack Daniel's sauce. What is Jack Daniel, Logan, what is Jack Daniel's sauce? Like the barbecue sauce? It's the worst sauce ever. Are you talking about like epic mealtime Jack Daniel's sauce? Thick cut bacon. Thick cut for your butt. Taste of meat poop. Oh, that's right. That's right. You need to make the Jack Daniel's sauce. Thank you, Diva, for setting me straight as usual. All right. Let's see. So that was the hot grill on. Look, if you can't possibly get enough of that song, and quite frankly, I don't know how any of you made it through by keeping your speakers intact, unless you were just in the mood to laugh a little bit. You can go to bbqrevolution.com. That's bbqrevolution.com. And I don't know if there's like copyright or patent pending things on songs that suck or anything like that. But I'm sure if you send an email out to Logan or Scott or Matt or Peter or Chris, Peter's not really, that's a joke. I'm sure they'll let you use it. Maybe you would like to accept that as your own personal theme song. I'm sure that they'll be more than happy to make that happen for you. I mean, who wouldn't want to listen to Jack Daniel's sauce chicken? Beat him, word him up. Hot grill on grill action. Craziness. Lost on Barbecue Pitmaster Season 2. Just kidding. All right, folks, let's race over to the hotline. He's been on the show once before. It's Joe Beelan, Pitmaster of Tippy Canoe Barbecue. Joe, how are you, buddy?
Awesome, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. More than happy to have you back on, Joe. And it's, good times. This is really, I love the fact that the competition season for barbecue runs, all 12 months. It doesn't get any better than that as far as somebody who likes sports and has kind of developed a little bit of a sports niche here in the competition world as myself, who gets to talk to you pitmasters on a weekend or on a week-to-week basis. And this is really probably one of my most favorite times of the year. We've kind of transitioned off of summer, and now we're getting into the fall areas where some of the real big competitions take place. Points chases are starting to wind down, becoming a lot more exciting. And, of course, the coup de grace of them all, to at least the majority of Pitmasters, is coming up next month, which happens to be the Jack Daniels. And you are a team that is in it now for the second year in a row. So just kind of your initial thoughts after you got your name pulled from the hopper, knowing that you were going to be able to head back down to Lynchburg again this coming year.
Yeah, it's just an awesome feeling. I tell my friends October's, playoff month in the barbecue world. And, to get we looked at the schedule earlier in the year and thought, man, if we could make the Royal, the first weekend, take a weekend off and head to Bentonville for the Sam's Club National Final and of course, hit the Jack the week after, that would be the triple crown of barbecue, so to speak. And fortunate enough, sitting here the first week of September, we're in all three and really looking forward to it. We were just really, really lucky. And you feel bad. I got a bunch of friends that were in that same draw that didn't come out as fortunate as we did. We hit the 1 in 12 shot to represent the state of Iowa. We had 3 different chances in 3 different states, and to hit that one, our home state, was a good feeling. I'm driving down the road on the smartphone doing what I'm not supposed to be doing. Followed Whiskey Bent on Twitter, as he's tweeting them live as they come, and to see our name pop up after the state of Iowa was just an unbelievably great feeling.
Joe Beelan joining us here. He's the pitmaster of Tippy Canoe Barbecue. Joe, for the people that perhaps aren't as familiar with you and the team, how about a little background about yourself and how you got started in this whole barbecue mess?
Sure. Yep. Absolutely. We started the fall of 2008. I started a lot like many other teams, cooking at home. Camping, cooking for friends, and one of those. My buddies kept telling me, "We got to do this. We got to do this." So we entered a backyard competition in the summer of 2008, and going in, I said, "All right, if we win this thing, I'll do a real one. A quote unquote real competition." And sure enough, we won a little backyard event, and we went up to a little contest in Sparta, Wisconsin a few weeks later, and lucky enough to come out with a reserve grand championship in our first contest there, and it's just been a wild ride ever since. We did about 12 contests in 2009. We did almost 25 last year. We'll get close to 20 this year, and 7 grand championships. We actually won our seventh grand championship in 3 years last weekend in Ames at the All-American Barbecue Bash, and that was a great feeling as well. So that's kind of a little bit about us. I cook with my family most weekends, my wife and children. I've got a few buddies who come along, so as well. So depending on the weekend, it'll be generally it's me and the family, but every now and again it's me and 3 or 4 buddies from high school. So
all right. So are you, let's say, the pitmaster majorum when you're out there, or when you're with the family, if they're regular travelers with you, do they have parts of preparation or getting box ready or running in that you count on them for?
Sure. Yep. Absolutely. We've kind of, depending on the weekend, we'll assign a few duties, but I know how to do everything. I can cook a contest by myself. It's a lot more fun to have some help. But I've done several by myself, so we can do that as well. So most weekends when I've got a couple of young children, so when it's the family, my wife will help me as much as she can. But obviously, one of us has to keep an eye on the kids, so we're doing that a lot as well. But generally, everybody's willing to pitch in and help, and that makes it a lot more fun to have different duties there. But generally, I've got the recipes in my head and ready to roll that one.
Joe Beelen from Tippecanoe joining us here on the show. Joe, when you're cooking by yourself because you don't have all the other people around, do you find yourself more steely honed in for the competition during the course of the weekend? Or perhaps is it the flip side? When you have more people around you, you actually have to concentrate even harder to make sure that you are on task doing what you need to do?
Yeah, I generally find when I'm by myself, I will stay a little more focused, and maybe it's a necessity thing. But we cooked in Omaha last September at the Exarban River City Roundup, and won grand championship out of 50 teams cooking by myself. And I really attributed that just really was focused, had a great cook, and didn't get distracted, didn't do a lot, didn't leave the trailer much, but so it kind of cut into the fun factor. But I really stayed focused, and I think that helped. And I've had it the flip side as well. I cooked in Jefferson City this spring down in Missouri, and tanked. Quite frankly, got a good old-fashioned ass waxing, as Darren from I Was Smoking East would call it, and I didn't stay focused. I was by myself and kind of got distracted and didn't have things ready like I needed to, and felt like I scrambled and kind of chased my tail all day. So a little bit of both. I like cooking with the crowd from the fact of I'm pretty good at kind of honing in. You can ask the people on the weekends. I can block them out pretty good, and it sure is nice to have their taste buds around. That's what I miss the most when I cook by myself is not to have that opinion or that what's this taste like, too hot, too sweet, that kind of thing. By turn-in day Saturday, I'm not tasting anything anyway, so I rely on somebody else's taste buds most of the time.
All right, so I guess that was kind of my next question as you were talking about it. I've had a number of pitmasters on, and I guess to my surprise, and maybe it shouldn't be to my surprise anymore, but a lot of these guys and gals aren't really tasting their turn-ins. They'll cook them, and maybe it's because they've done it so long and it's the same process. They're looking for a certain color, or they know they've put the right amount of flavor on, whatever the case may be. They don't seem to be tasting, or at least they're not tasting everything that they're turning in. Do you, whether it's you or whether it's somebody else, are you tasting every turn-in that you're running to the tent?
I would say when I have help specifically, everything's going to get a taste. This weekend, run a little short-handed. I didn't taste the big meats or the ribs at all. So it's more of, I can tell from my personal perspective, I could tell more, about a rack of ribs or a pork butt, especially by the way it looks and the way it feels under the knife. That's something I've gotten pretty good at, I guess. A little practice and a lot of competitions there that I feel good about that. And a lot of times I can tell which rack of ribs my wife's going to say that's the one by the way it feels with the knife. So It's one of those things that when I can get it and when I can get the help, especially when it's a piece of meat you can make an adjustment on. Chicken, for example, some more sauce, some more rub, a little more heat, a little more sweet. Pretty easy to make a quick adjustment that blends in pretty well, and the judges can't tell you made that adjustment last minute. So I really like to have that ability early in the game with chicken.
Joe Beelan joining us. Tippecanoe Barbecue is his competition team name, and he's headed down to the Jack Daniels for the second time this coming October. So, Joe, let's go ahead and talk about that. You made the first trip. It was last year was your first trip out, right?
Correct.
All right, so you got the call last year. You were down there. You competed, and obviously it's a learning experience the first time down there. You can probably get hung up on one of 500 billion different things that are going to distract you from what you actually need to go down there and do, which is cook many different things that we can talk about, because quite honestly, while it seems to be a competition has the most mystique, this is not a sanctioned KCBS barbecue competition that you have been cooking all along. You're cooking KCBS competitions to qualify for a non-KCBS competition, which seems a little odd to me. They are training judges the night before, but these aren't seasoned barbecue judges that you're going to find more or less on a consistent KCBS basis as you're used to. So knowing what you know now, cooking last year, getting the results that you did, is there anything that you can learn from last year and apply it to this year to give yourself a better chance at winning?
Yep, absolutely, Greg. I think, we went down last year, and I live in a town of 1,000 people, and I think about 400 of them came with me, and we had a great time, soaked it all in, did all of the activities, went to Miss Mary Bobo's, did the dinner on the hill that they put on for you, took it all in, spent a bunch of time with the international teams, partook in a little local product, had just a fantastic time and really experienced it. And that was our goal, go down, have fun, take it all in. We may never get to go back. And I'll tell you, we won't do that this year. We're going to go with a different purpose. We're going to go, quite frankly, I don't sound cocky, but we're going to win the damn thing. That's the plan in 2011. And I think we have to go. You have to go with that attitude to any barbecue contest. That it's just like anything else, to stay focused and stay sharp. And so we're going to cut out a few of those distractions. Number one, we're not going to do all of that stuff. And don't get me wrong, if there's teams going for the first time, do that stuff. You have to. It's great. It's fun. It's a blast. I don't regret one bit doing that last year, but we are going to eliminate some distractions. After the contest, I talked to QL, obviously the winner there. I talked with Mike, and Mike says, we stayed here at the trailer all week. Between the hotel and the trailer, we didn't move much, and I think that helped them. And he really pointed to that, and I think he's got a pretty valid point there. So while we're going to try to experience it and have fun and not make it more than it has to be, we're going to focus and try to cook as well as we can. We're also going to, I don't know. I've heard two schools of thought here that, cook with what brought you. And then I hear, Greg, what you're talking about, that, well, that's foodies and magazine article writers and bloggers and all these folks doing the judging. So cook for people, and cook for people who like food. Part of what I believe is, I do that every weekend anyway. What we're cooking is just really generally pretty good food. It's not hot, it's not spicy, it's not sweet. It's just good food. It's good barbecue, and that's what we're focused on. We're going to try to make some really good barbecue and see what happens.
All right, you going to be doing any of the ancillary competitions as well, or is it just going to be a strict focus on what you're going there to do to win?
Yep, absolutely. We're going to cut everything else out. We did all that last year. Again, no regrets. Glad we did it, but we're not going there. I'm not a chef. I'll be real upfront with you. And the folks who win those categories, they are chefs, and I'm not going to beat my head against that wall again. It was distracting. It was fun. Again, I'm glad I did it, but experienced that. I don't make my own sauce for competitions. I'm not going to try to make one to turn into the Jack. So we're going to eliminate those as well. Cook them in four, focus there, and do the best we can.
Do you use, I'm going to ask you this just because you happen to mention it, as far as sauce is concerned, when you compete, do you use like a brand that's out there, and then do you spike it up a little bit, or do you make your own competition sauce?
Yep. No, we are using combinations of or just straight off the shelf stuff. I'll give a shout out to one of my buddies, actually here in Iowa, Farm Boy Barbecue Sauce. Check him out. We're using a variation of that. In fact, we're using a lot of that right off the shelf, especially on pork. Got a first place pork this weekend with that beautiful pork butt slathered in Farm Boy Barbecue Sauce. So check that out.
Farm Boy Barbecue Sauce. All right, Joe Beelan joining us here on the show, Tippecanoe Barbecue, and we're talking about the Jack Daniels. Just gauge your overall experience last year, and when you look this year, as you said, you're going to be paring out a lot of the stuff. You're just going to be focusing on the competition, and kind of relate that into teams that are going down there first time. Do you feel that the teams that are going down there for the first time this year, you already have a leg up on, and you don't need to necessarily worry about them being so in the mix at the end because they're probably going to get caught up in all this other stuff? Besides all the other stuff that's going on, I imagine there has to be, for at least some teams, the possibility of becoming kind of starstruck with all these other big-name teams that are actually getting called to compete down there as well.
Yeah, I think you could say that. I wouldn't count them all out. I probably have born with the problem of lack of focus. So I imagine there's probably people who could do both. Who could do all that stuff and enter the extra categories and do it their first time and nail it. So I think it's probably happened before, and I think there's probably teams that can. Just not my strong suit. So one of the things we'll try to avoid, but. I think there's a couple of teams. You look through that list. There's probably a couple of teams that I believe it's their first time there that have a shot of taking it down. So.
All right. So you've seen the list just like I've seen the list. Pick out some names that you see as formidable competition. Do you think that Mike Wozniak has a chance of repeating? Do you think that IQ is going to come back and win their set? Or as you look through the non-automatic qualifiers like yourself that are coming down, do you see teams in there that kind of give you the willies going up against them?
Yeah, absolutely. We have the fortune here in the Midwest to get to compete against a lot of those guys every weekend. Guys like QL and Munchin Hogs at the Hilton, and I think there's a great chance somebody like that takes this thing down again this year. Rob with Munchin Hogs is just cooking out of his mind right now, obviously leading the KCBS Team of the Year and cooked well down there last year. I think he was top 5 last year, so he'll definitely be a force to be reckoned with. A guy like Butcher Barbecue, our friend David down there with Butcher BBQ, waited a long time to get in. There he's into the Jack, and he's obviously cooking very well right now as well. So that's a name that pops off the chart at me as well as somebody who probably has a pretty solid shot at taking that thing down.
Look, you see a guy by the name of Myron Mixon on there as well. He's been down there, if I'm not mistaken, 13 out of 14 years straight. I don't think he won last year, but he was there 12 years consecutive. Do you think, he's obviously a big name. You see a lot of TV time for him, and he seemed to really take off with the Barbecue Pitmasters show. But, no doubt, one of the most winning men in competition history as far as being able to cross over different sanctioning bodies and winning in all those as well. Do you think that when you get to a certain point, that if you haven't won it in 13 or 14 years, there's something that you're just missing, you're not going to get it, and the likelihood that you're going to win it is starting to diminish at some point? Is there a change in title? Is there kind of a change in the mojo?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so. I think the last time he was there, off the top of my head, was he reserve in 2009, maybe right behind Chris at IQ.
Yep.
So I think you could look at it as he was darn close, and maybe he's right there, ready to take another one of those. He likes to throw that world champion moniker around. He's probably wanting to get his hands on one of these. So I'm sure he'll come focused. There's a guy you talk about that can drown out the distractions. He's wherever he goes, it looks like to be there's distractions everywhere with book signings and fans and pictures and stuff I can only dream of having at a barbecue contest. But he seems to be able to block all that out and focus and just cook and cook well. And like you said, throughout the years to go from style to style and from event to event and sanctioning body to sanctioning body, pretty impressive stuff. So I think he's probably on that list with QL and IQ and those folks.
All right, Joe, so go ahead and kind of sum it up for us a little bit. You're obviously really honed in and focused on what you're going to be doing, how you want to be cooking for these judges. And is there anything else out of the ordinary that you are going to be putting into the mix, or you're just sticking with guns and dancing with what brought you?
Yeah, we're going to, chicken is probably the biggest one that jumps out at you. You've got to do something different, or for most KCBS teams, you have to do something different. And by that, I mean the white meat rule.
Right.
So last year we cooked some chicken breasts. I thought they were rock star, just awesome chicken breasts. Who knows what happens to them in the 10 minutes as they cool off, or I guess we all know what happens to them. And I think the chicken category hurt us last year, so we're going to switch that up. We're going to cook some wings, cooking a batch this week as we get started, trying to refine that process, getting ready. So I think our white meat will be wings this year. I'll give that away. We'll throw those in and see what happens.
Let me ask you a quick question here, Joe, before I let you go. It's interesting. I had talked with hundreds of pitmasters here going on to the fourth year of the live show on Barbecue Central Radio Network, and I was talking to Melissa Cookston one time, and she made it a point to tell me that when they turn it in, as they're practicing, as they're kind of refining the flavor profiles, one of the things that they do is they will get the meat. They'll go ahead and pretend like they've ran it to the tent, and then they'll go ahead and taste what their meat tastes like. Not cold, obviously, but not straight off the grill hot like you would get at home. And they go ahead and make their differences or their refinements on their flavor profiles by how it tastes in that state versus how it's tasting as it's coming off the cooker. Do you do the same thing?
Yep, absolutely. We've been practicing chicken a bunch. We've really had a rough year with chicken early on. We've got it dialed in here now, or a lot closer to dialed in with a second place here this weekend. And as we practice chicken, that's one of the things we've done. The sauce we're using on chicken tastes worlds different, piping hot and real thin on the chicken as it does to 15 minutes later, or maybe 15 is a stretch, but 7 or 8 for sure minutes later. It's changed. It's different, and so we've adjusted the amount of sauce we put on for that cool factor, and I think it makes a difference. Stuff just tastes different at different temperatures. Take a barbecue sauce right out of the fridge and taste it, and then put it in the microwave for 25 seconds in a little jar and taste that, and it'll taste different, obviously. And that's you got to manage that process. Same thing with tenderness. As meat cools, it's going to become less tender. So a rib that's slightly overcooked, when you put it in the box 6 or 7 minutes later, may be spot on when the judge goes to eat it.
Joe Beelan joining us here on the show. Tippett Canoe Barbecue going to be pointing down to the Jack Daniels here next month. Joe, hate to put you on the spot, but I'm going to because it's my show. Percentage of you walking away grand champion this coming October?
Oh, percentage. That is a tough one. I'm going to say, we're going focused. I'm feeling good about the way we're cooking. We've got our chicken recipe figured out, I think, and we got everything else rocking and rolling. And I still think at best, any team's a 10% chance to win this thing. So I'm giving myself about a 10% chance.
All right, 10% chance. We're going to be doing a lot of Jack Daniels interviews, kind of pointing towards the big event next month. So we'll put Joe down, calling himself at 10%. So we'll see if that actually comes true. Of course, Joe, you know that you've done the show, so that instant karma always attaches to the guests that do big events. So I would expect nothing short of grand champion. And of course, if that happens, I do get first dibs on interviews when you come back next Tuesday.
Absolutely, Greg. Look forward to it. I hope we get to talk.
All right, Joe. Well, I appreciate you coming on tonight, and good luck down at the Jack.
Hey, speaking of that, Greg, you rocking a Swine Assassin shirt tonight?
I am rocking a Swine Assassin shirt tonight. Thank you very much for noticing.
I thought I might have caught that on the video stream.
See the electric blue flame shooting up both arms. I just stood up for everybody to see. It's quite a eye-appealing shirt, wouldn't you say?
It is. I have to see him a lot, and generally I see him up front at awards.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty used to those shirts. I can pick them out just by the shoulders.
There you go. All right. Well, Joe, very good for coming on tonight, and good luck to you in October.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
Take care. There he is. It's Joe Beelan. Tippett Canoe Barbecue Team. Awesome. Very excited to get down there, and I do have a lot of great Jack Daniels guests that'll be coming up over the course of the next few weeks. So as many teams as we can pull in here to talk, the better, the more karma is spread. Thank you for the Swine Assassins shirt stuff, by the way. I'm glad Joe recognized that. Thanks to Scott for sending it to me. I wear it around. People think I'm like a mix of a real assassin killer and also a MMA person. I don't know what that's about. Does this look like MMA shirt to you? Scott, are you hooking me up with an MMA shirt? We're going to fist fight. Folks, one last read for a sponsor that my last guest just mentioned. The aforementioned Dave Bosca, Butcher Barbecue. The Butcher Barbecue Brisket Injection, the best tasting marinade deemed by highly skilled and qualified judges from barbecue cook-offs and sanctioning bodies. It's various barbecue associations as well from the United States and Canada. Yes, folks, there are barbecue competitions in Canada. Teams, too, not just competitions. It's a simple-to-use marinade. It's designed to be injected into the meat to increase the moisture. That's right, to increase the moisture while intensifying the natural beef flavor. Butcher Barbecue's beef injection, one of the hottest items out there in the competition scene and for the backyard scene as well. It just doesn't have to be competition. Here's what you do to need to make it. I'll have better English next week, I promise. First, we know this. All taste palates are different, so strengthen to your taste. Dave recommends you start with 3/4 cup of marinade to 2 cups of water. You have other options as well. You can split half and half with beer and water or apple juice or cola or beef broth. I, of course, like to use beer because I'm a man. Then you place your brisket on a cookie sheet with the edges to help, so your sheet has edges to help catch any excess marinade. Now, using a checkerboard pattern, inject every other square, keeping the needle in the center of the brisket meat. This amount should be enough for 2 13-pound briskets. That's right. So in case you didn't know how to use it, now you know how to use it. With my remaining time, I want to tell you about the newest item that Dave has out. It's called Grill. It's a revolutionary product that can be flavoring all different kinds of meats with some easy-to-follow applications. The first way, we've all heard of it. It's called marinating. You place your meat in a container or a Ziploc bag and you cover it with enough grill liquid for about 2 to 4 hours. Now, a quicker way to do that, and it's just as efficient, is through injection. You use a syringe, you inject through the meat with this grill flavoring, and you let it set about 30 to 60 minutes. Now, for a full flavor boost, you can throw caution to the wind. You can use both methods. You can inject it. You can also marinate it. One item that can do both. For brining, you mix a half a cup of grill and 8 cups of liquid. For injecting, you mix an 1/8 to a 1/4 cup of grill and 2 cups of liquid. It's highly recommended to start on chicken, but after tasting it, you'll realize it can be used on ribs and steaks and pork chops. It'll give you all the moistness expected while adding a great flavor. Head over to butcherbbq.com. That's butcherbbq.com to pick up your grill, your pork and your brisket marinades, and the rubs and sauces, too. It's Dave Bosca over at Butcher Barbecue. We're back with Dan Watson from Long Dogs after this.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Radio Network studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, we are back almost 20 till. Thanks to Joe Beelan from Tippecanoe for joining us, talking about the Jack Daniels. We are going to be continuing Jack Daniels talk. Look, in case you missed the first hour of the show, first of all, shame on you. What are you doing? You missed a great Backyard Chicken Roundtable with Jeremy Schleishman, Chad Ward, and Shane Draper breaking it all down from start to finish. So go back. You can always get the archives of the shows. If you visit iTunes, you can search the show, the Barbecue Central Radio Show. You can search me by name. You can also go to the Barbecue Central Radio Network homepage and go to the archives. I have them listed there soon after the show ends each and every Tuesday. So don't fear if you miss a show or shows, you can listen at your convenience via podcast on iTunes or on the Barbecue Central Radio Network's homepage. All right. We will go ahead and pick up the Jack Daniels conversation with a first-timer to the show. He's pitmaster of Long Dogs. It's Dan the Man Watson. Dan, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, Dan. I appreciate you making time for the show. We were just talking with Joe Beelan from Tippecanoe Barbecue, who was on his way down to the Jack Daniels second time in as many years. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Dan, same thing for you, right?
Yes, we cooked it last year as well.
All right, so and it was the first time for you.
Yeah, last year was our first time down there as the Long Dog, so we had a great time.
All right, first of all, I have to interrupt here, Dan, because Kevin Bevington, the owner of Outdoor Cooking Channel, is telling me to pass on his personal congrats on the Jack invite. So, obviously, when the man says to do what he does, I have to break format and make sure that I'm passing that along. So, congratulations from Kevin, Dan. Let's go ahead and look back at last year. It's your first time down. We got kind of a summation from Joe as far as going down for the first time. But after you heard your name, I'm sure there was a whole bunch of great feeling and excitement to get down to this very majestic, magical barbecue competition that everybody wants to get in. Everybody wants to win it. There's debate. Is it the Jack? Is it the American Royal? Which one do you want to win? So let's head in many different directions here to round out the rest of the show, Dan. First of all, when you got that initial call last year, emotions that you felt, and what were some of your overall summations of competing down there the first time?
Well, it's kind of a neat experience. I just live about 65 miles from Lynchburg, so I actually went down to the draw last year. And you're sitting there on pins and needles the whole time. You're like, I hope they pick the states I'm in, but I hope they don't pick the states I'm in because you don't want it to be over, you know. But, I sat through it and was lucky enough to get pulled for the state of Kentucky last year. And it's quite a bit of excitement, especially when you're sitting in the room when they're doing it.
Yeah, I was going to say, does it add like an extra level of excitement when not only are they calling your name, you happen to be right there live and in person?
I think it definitely does. That you sit there and you watch the bung come out of the barrel, and there's a moment of silence for a few seconds when they cross-reference the team number with their Excel spreadsheet, and then they announce the name. So you're sitting on pins and needles waiting to hear the name.
Dan Watson joining us from Long Dogs. Dan, I guess before we get into what it was like competing down there the first time, and I apologize I didn't ask you this in the beginning, how did you get into barbecue? When did you start competing?
We got into barbecue back around 2004, 2005. Me and my wife we eloped, got married out in Vegas. We're lucky enough to have a large amount of friends and family come out there. I think we had about 35 come out to Vegas, see us get married. But we flew back and we're having a reception. Went down to my local barbecue place and wanted to buy 10 pounds of pulled pork, and about fell over when I saw the bill. Of course, if I had known how much money I would spend in barbecue after I went out and bought a smoker that afternoon and started barbecuing, I'd have probably just been happy to have supported the local barbecue place and bought 10 pounds of pork from him.
And then from there, your idea of getting into competition was spawned?
Yeah, it was about the time that all the TV shows came out about it, and you're sitting there, watching BBQ and some of the earlier shows. That a lot of those were, had a lot of bull in it, and Byron and John and Kathy with Wild Bunch, and I'm like, hey, I can do that. And a buddy of mine that was a chef here in Nashville decided he wanted to open a barbecue restaurant, so he had ridden down to Pulaski, Tennessee, to compete. And he actually happened to have been a roommate of Byron's years before. So I go down there to meet him, and lo and behold, he's sitting beside Byron and John and Kathy with Wild Bunch, and I proceed to cook the contest with him. And he ended up opening a barbecue restaurant down in Destin, Florida. And the other buddy with us never competed again, and then I went on and kept competing. And just got absolutely hooked.
There you go. Dan Watson from Long Dogs joining us here on the show. All right, so let's go ahead and fast forward back to that initial question that I asked you, Dan. When you cooked down there at the Jack, because as I told Joe, you're cooking KCBS competitions in order to qualify to go down and cook for a non-KCBS sanctioned event. They're all around it. There is kind of this weird gray area. I have no idea why they just not come to some type of agreement where they can make it a KCBS event, but I understand it's a Jack Daniels brand thing, and they're going to hold on to all of that. So taking all of that into account, they're not trained judges that you would normally see on the KCBS circuit. Did you try and change anything to go down there and give yourself like kind of fitting in with the palate, or did you just cook the way you normally did?
You know what? I basically cook the way I normally cook. Obviously, you got to work on chicken a little bit because that's the only thing that really requires something a little bit different. Otherwise, the only difference with the other three categories is just putting 7 in the box instead of 6. So.
Were you concerned at all at the lack of judging palate there, or did it not bother you that much?
You know what? I've been around it long enough. I understand the purpose of the competition. I mean, it means so much to us cook teams, but it's also a marketing vessel for them to have people come in and grow their brand and to support customers they have. So I just appreciate the contest for what it is.
Dan Watson joining us here from Long Dogs, talking about the Jack Daniels. So after you got all the results and you had your first Jack in the, I was going to say Jack in the box, your Jack down, were you like a first-time team that wanted to get everything in and do the dinner on the hill and do all these other ancillary things that could potentially pull some time away from you preparing for, you know, the part that's actually going to make you win? Or were you down focused on winning right from the get-go?
I'll tell you this. I was both last year. We did everything there was to do, and we cooked well as well. That's what I said, you know, we do from the outset. My program, once I get started, as long as all my prep goes the way it's supposed to go, once I wake up in the morning and start cooking, I'm as focused as a person can be.
What kind of a cooker are you using in competition, Dan?
I use a Jambo.
All right, so very well-respected competition cooker. What could potentially hang you up in preparation? What could throw you off?
You know what? Really, the only thing that could ever throw somebody cooking on a Jambo off, I mean, electricity is not a concern. The only thing that could really throw you off would be a driving rainstorm. You know, other than that, if it's a sprinkling rain, that bad boy just keep rocking on. All
right, Dan Watson joining us here on the show. So how do you evaluate your first Jack Daniels? Were you happy with it? Were you just excited to be there and you weren't looking to pull off Grand Championship honors? What did you think?
Overall, we were happy with it. We want to do better this year. But, you know, last year we won Happiest Home in the Hollow, so that was cool. We had a 180 dessert. We tied with Chris Hart, but he broke the tiebreaker, so we finished second. But I'll take a perfect score dessert at the Jack anytime. We were 4th in ribs, around 10th in pork, and 11th in brisket. And they didn't like our chicken, and we were 61st. But we finished 10th overall. So we had a good cook.
Yeah, 10th overall, certainly nothing to sneeze at the Jack Daniels. I asked Joe this. I'm going to ask you this as well. Having been there last year, and it's not like it's been 4 or 5 years in between the last time you went. This is fresh. It's just like you're doing it every year now. Have you been able to ascertain extra information that is going to enable you to cook better, or is pretty much everything going to stay the same for you?
Well, 3 categories that stay the same. Obviously, I'll work on chicken a little bit. I turned in breast meat last year. I'm looking to turn in wings this year. So,
all right, wings this year. And I believe that seems to be kind of a trend in the white meat. A lot of teams like to go to wings. Are they a little bit more forgiving, you think?
They're definitely more forgiving. I mean, white meat, by its very essence, is naturally drier. You know, you add another 15 or 20 minutes from the time it comes off your cooker initially, you know, I mean, it may go back in and get glazed, but by the time it gets in the box, gets sent in, sits on a table, then makes it to a table, gets judged, appearance, everything, you can be talking 20 minutes, and something that's going to be naturally drier, you're really taking a big risk with it.
Is there no brine on the market or something that you could pump into the breast that you think would give it that extra window where it would stay moist and succulent for the judges?
That's, you know, I've used Fat C in it before. I used something very similar to Fat C in it last year. But sometimes some of these meats are so dry that, you know, it's Russian roulette, especially with the chicken breast. So, No, I do use. I've used Butcher's quite a bit in pork. We've had a lot of success. I've also used Cosmos in pork, and I use Fad in my brisket. So.
Dan Watson joining us here. Long Dogs is the name of the barbecue competition team. Dan, I'm always fascinated by barbecue team names. How do you come up with Long Dogs?
That's a funny name, but when you're a new team and you're looking at coming up with names, everything that rhymes with pig and cow and beef and everything's been used. So we have 3 wonderful dachshunds. Louie is our mascot. He's a chocolate dapple dachshund, kind of looks like a chocolate chip out there, but he is the heart and soul of the team and where the name came from. In fact, the Jack people liked him so much they started calling us Louie and the Long Dogs of the award. So it was a good time.
Dan Watson joining us here on the Barbecue Central radio show, 877-448-0433. If you want to call in, ask Dan a question, Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. All right, so we're pointing to the Jack Daniels next month. When you load in, is there any refined vision or motivating factor to get down there and win? Because, I mean, let's be honest. You could go down. You could have went down last year. There's just as good of a chance, potentially, that you wouldn't have been drawn not only this year, but maybe for the next 6 or 7 years or ever, I guess, because of the extreme drawing process. So is there kind of that fine line to teeter? I know you said you kind of did both to enjoy the experience. It's like if you're going to the Super Bowl, you can't sit there and say as an NFL player, I'm going to get back here again 5, 6, 7 times before I call it a career. It could be the one and only shot that you ever get. So you want to be able to kind of get that whole ambiance absorbed into yourself, but you also want to give your chance or yourself the best chance at winning, because nothing would be better than winning the Jack Daniels. How are you able to kind of mix and match those two without giving attention more to one or the other?
You know, it's definitely a balancing act. I mean, the one thing I have to my advantage is that, I just live up the road, I enjoy Mary Bobo's and go eat there, quite regularly. The city's very neat. I've already, in fact, me and my wife Jen, my teammate, rode down over the weekend to Lynchburg and picked up our barrelhead for everybody to sign. So we try to get as much out of the way as possible before we get there. Sadly, I take the event very serious. I take it as serious as a football player would take the Super Bowl. So you won't see me on the hill Friday night. I go to bed and get up and go to work early in the morning, and that's the way I roll. But the rest of my team can go up on the hill, have a good time, soak it all in. The one thing we were disappointed in last year is we got so busy we couldn't make the parade, but we're definitely going to make the parade, and Louie and the Long Dogs definitely get to be on the show for the parade this year.
Dan Watson joining us here on the show. Competition team name is Long Dogs, and he'll be at the Jack Daniels coming up next month. Dan, when you look at all of the team names, I mean, you were there in person. When you see the list being brought out and you have the automatic qualifiers, you have the teams that were picked by state and however else they're picked, any teams jumping off to you on the list that are giving you specific apprehension? Is it everybody? Is it anybody? Or do you not care who's there? You're going to cook your game, and whether there's one person or 1,000 people, bring it on.
Well, it's a humbling list of cookers. I mean, you've definitely got the best of the best that are there every year. This year is no different. It's a very, very deep list of teams. I cook against myself every weekend. That's kind of how I've always been. I try to just beat what I did last time, and that's how I roll. But when you see names like QL and IQ and Munchin Hogs at the Hilton and Swine Assassins and Swig and Pig and all those guys on the list, it's very humbling. There's some daggum good cooks there.
All right, let me ask you this, Dan, and I meant to ask Joe this, and I'm remiss that I didn't. And I've asked a lot of teams that have won the Jack Daniels. I've asked a lot of teams that have won the American Royal Invitational, because typically there's only a few weeks separating those particular competitions, and they seem to be like the biggest ones. You have the American Royal Open, obviously, as far as teams in it, huge, and then you have the Invitational, which is kind of the best of the best. And I love pitting this question or posing this question to the pitmasters that I'm talking to. So let's go ahead with this one. Given the chance to win the American Royal Invitational or the Jack Daniels Championship, which one would you choose and why?
My choice would be both.
Of course, but if we had to choose one.
if I had to pick one, you know what? Ultimately, I want to win them both. But obviously, right now, my focus is on winning the Jack Daniels.
All right. So, why?
You know what? It's a neat cook-off. It's kind of like the Masters of barbecue. I mean, what Augusta is to the world of professional golf, the Jack Daniels is to barbecue. And you know, as a cook team that's been around a while, when you're in your own rig and you're passing under the sign that says, you know, welcome to the, you know, last year the 22nd annual Jack Daniels World Championship, this year will be the 23rd. I'm going to tell you, it doesn't matter how much you cook, the hair on the back of your neck stands up. It's a neat experience. It's why a lot of us got into barbecue in the first place. And to get there and do well would just mean everything. It'd be, you know, darn near a pinnacle of a cooking career.
Dan Watson joining us here on the show. Dan, I asked Joe this. I'm going to ask you this, and every other. I hope to have a number of Jack Daniels interviews leading up to the big event in October. Give me the percentage of you pulling out grand champion this year. What's your percentage of victory, do you think?
Yeah, the humble side of me says 1 and 80%, or 1 out of 80, because that's about how many cook teams there are. But you know, obviously, I heard his answer, and I'm going to do everything I can. I hope to hit 10%. You know, I mean, that's all you can do. I figure in that crowd, you know, as many as 20 teams could turn in Grand Championship barbecue, and only one of those teams is going to get picked. So all I can do is cook my best and let things fall where they may.
All right, Dan Watson is cooking for Long Dogs. He's the pit master, giving himself 10% chance of winning Jack Daniels. So same thing for you. I know everybody thinks this might get spread a little thin here as far as the show karma is concerned, but show karma instantly attaches to you, Dan. So I would imagine getting grand champion is nothing short of easy now that you've been on the show. And if you win, I would hope that you could come back on that following Tuesday and do kind of a post-Jack Daniels breakdown for us.
Yeah, if I win, you got it, man. Absolutely. I'll be ecstatic.
All right, Dan. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show tonight, and good luck in October down in the Jack.
All righty. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for coming on tonight. It's Dan. Bringing it strong. Like to win both? Who would like to do that? That's ridiculous. Let me tell you what's ridiculous. I'm going to tell you exactly what's ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
Ribs, chicken, brisket, pork, dessert, Jack Daniels sauce, Jack, hot grill and grill action at the Jack.
Jack.
What up, yo?
What up, yo? Word 'em up.
Lickety split. Famous. Logan Henderson. Pork.
Brisket.
Jack Daniels sauce.
Jack Daniels.
Jack, hot grill and grill action at the Jack.
Bacon strips.
What up, yo?
What up? Put your drink up.
Famous. Logan Henderson.
Get a little bit of that.
Chicken.
We lost on Barbecue Pitmasters. Bring it.
Ribs.
Chicken.
Brisket.
Chris Lilly gonna kick our ass.
Dessert.
He's better.
Sauce.
Jack Daniels. Jack Daniels sauce and brisket. What about? I love it. Little Wayne. Usher.
Dessert. Jack Daniels sauce.
Jack Daniels.
Jack. Hot grill and grill action.
I mean, dude, that's awesome. And by awesome, I mean the worst song ever, boys.
Step out of here.
I thought I was giving Justin Bieber a hard time. Men with microphone and beer. Take caution. And and auto-tune. I don't do auto-tune when I'm singing Alice in Chains, buddy. I'm letting it fly. On what? How many takes did that take, Logan? Be honest.
What?
I said, how many takes did that take? Is that redundant? How many takes? All right, let's do a brief recap. First hour, we did a chicken roundtable for the backyard. Jeremy Schleichman, 18th, and swine.com. Chad Ward from Whiskey Bent Barbecue. WhiskeyBentBBQ.com. Also, Blog Talk Radio, Tuesday nights at 7, I believe it was, for Whiskey Bent in the Pit. Shane Draper, Draper's BBQ, which can be found at DrapersBBQ.com. Brought it strong on the chicken roundtable. Then, just this past hour, Joe Beelan from Tippecanoe barbecue team heading down to the Jack in October. Good luck to Joe. And Dan Watson from Long Dogs also heading down to the Jack. Both of them competed for the first time last year. Both of them heading down for a return trip to take back ultimate honors in the 2011 Jack Daniels. This Saturday night, only on pay-per-view. Yeah. And, of course, thanks to Hot Grill on Grill Action for Jack Daniels sauce, word 'em up, brisket pork, Jack Daniels, word 'em up. Hey, help control the rusty grill grate population, will you? If you have raw cast iron, season them with Pam cooking spray. After each and every use, it'll give you years and years of fantastic cooking experience and no rust. Because once they rust, man, it's over, Johnny. Pam those bitches. Hey, we got a great show lined up for next Tuesday and for weeks in advance. How about Myron Mixon coming up in a couple weeks talking about the Jack Daniels, the elusive Jack Daniels? Yeah, we got him. He's already booked. We'll see you back here next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until then, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.
This is Huck Jr., the host of In the Hut, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Network. All barbecue and grilling, all the time.
Hi, everybody. This is Brian Mayer from HotSauceWeekly.com with your Hot Sauce Minute. This time around, I wanted to share with you an audio segment that our good friend Scott Roberts from ScottRobertsWeb.com did on a radio show back in June, early July. He was on the Brad and John Show on 92.9 KISM out of Seattle, Washington. And Brad and John quizzed him about hot sauce, the Scoville scale, what the world's hottest pepper would do to your body. And I wanted to share this with you. I thought it was enjoyable, informative, and it really showcases Scott's knowledge. So let's listen now.
Bring on the heat. Yesterday we got into a discussion about hot sauces and